Really trying to start. Okay, so just a couple of mini announcements. Number one, I've got water and cups in the back. I'll keep refilling the water. I want to make sure we're staying well hydrated so we stay awake. Number two, we're going to try to stop right on time, and I'm going to ask that we not have a lot of questions for our speaker right afterwards because he needs a break before he comes back at 6:30. So let's kind of think about our questions. If you do have questions, I do have these little quarter size pages. I'll put them in the back. Write your question down. We'll give them to him, and then he can figure out where to work them in to address the questions that you might have. Okay. So I am really thrilled that you're all here. For those of you who weren't here last night, we also have a Zoom link. I don't know if anybody's signing in for it, but we're hopeful that we get some of the people that are outside of the Anchorage Bowl to participate via Zoom, because we did get the announcement sent out statewide. So if we don't, we at least know that it's possible, and that's going to be more. Okay. Then let's start today our Saturday session. Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for your love and for your Sabbath, for the time that we have to meet together and to learn how we can serve you better through health ministry and outreach. Please open our hearts and minds to see this afternoon to the words that Walt has for us. Thank you so much. We pray in your name. Amen. Amen. And I don't think I need to introduce you because everybody who was either here at church or here last night.
Over the last several years, we've seen the importance of the immune system. There's no question there's a direct relationship with the immune system and the probability of us getting sick. I'd like to share some things today. Look at it two different ways. I'd like to look at optimal immunity, how to achieve it. And so I'd like to look at what is the immune system, things not to do, things to do, and what's some things that you can use to help with your immune system. So the first question is, what is the immune system? The immune system distinguishes self from non-self and eliminates potentially harmful non-self molecules and cells of the body. The immune system also has the capacity to recognize and destroy abnormal cells that derive from host tissues. Any molecule capable of being recognized by the immune system is considered an antigen. So that's kind of on the scientific side of what the immune system does. The skin, cornea, and mucosa of the respiratory and gastrointestinal tract form a physical barrier that is the body's first line of defense. Some of these barriers also have active immune functions also. So what is going on in the skin, the cornea, and the mucosa? Well, that's ways by which the pathogen can get into the body. So these are things not to do. And it's important as we look at the body. There was a surgeon. He was the top surgeon in Philadelphia. He was also a trauma physician, make even more money. And Joel taught me years ago, he said, well, there's the bottom line to health. The bottom line, anybody work in finance? Finance?
Oh.
So the bottom line of finance is the last number with two lines underneath it. That's the bottom line. He said the bottom line to health is the quality and the flow of the blood. Have we heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
He said, as you look at the blood, it takes two components. Prevent the blood from having anything in it that could be harmful to the cell. Because the blood is the fuel to the cell. So what things could be harmful to the cell that's transported via the blood?
Toxins.
toxins, pathogens, of what everyday kind of things can we think of? Drugs, yes, alcohol, tobacco, pollution,
Food.
Twinkies. Yeah. Yeah. I go to some places and the kids have no idea what Twinkies are. And I say, after they had no idea what Twinkies were, but they knew what donuts were. They liked their donuts. So the first thing is prevent the cell, the blood cell, from having harmful things. The second thing is to provide the blood cell what it needs for the cell to operate. So as we look at nutrition, that's fats, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, which are catalysts that kick off fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and then minerals, which are a catalyst that kicks on vitamins. Then when the vitamins are on 8 cylinders, the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates are working. And that's one of the challenges we have with a processed diet. We got fats, proteins, carbohydrates, may have them, may not. But do we have vitamins? See, it takes vitamins at 8 cylinders, to kick on the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates that may be at the right amount. But you can't get vitamins at 8 cylinders unless one, you have enough, but you have to have another catalyst to kick them on, and that's minerals. Minerals have to be on 8 cylinders to kick on vitamins to 8 cylinders to kick on the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. We don't have enough minerals today due to processed food, soil erosion, and hybridization. And so we need extra mineralization. And that can be, if we can go to the heirloom seeds, which has more minerals. We talked last night that the heirloom seed versus the hybrid seed only takes up 40% of the nutrients out of the soil that the heirloom seed will pull out. And then what is Barbara O'Neill? Y'all are hearing about Barbara O'Neill here. And she's just blowing up. And Barbara's a great lady. What does Barbara say to get extra minerals?
Celtic salt.
She's using the Celtic salt. That's right. And I use trace minerals out of Utah. And so there's various ways you can get your trace minerals, but we need more trace minerals. And then the blood needs to have in it also, it needs to have water. It needs to have oxygen. It needs to have hormones. It needs to have enzyme, digestive enzyme. It needs actually enzymes not only are in the digestive system, but actually they can come into the blood system and clean up. And so those are all important. So what are some things not to do that can take out our immune system? I call them the 3 S's. Let me give an example first. Heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and atherosclerosis. That's clogged arteries. This is from the United States Surgeon General. Dietary excess and imbalance cause much disease and death. Hard to believe it comes out of the United States Surgeon General, huh? Diet has a vital influence on health. 5 of the top 10 killers are directly related to diet. This includes heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and atherosclerosis. And I actually believe some of the other 5 also are. It is clear that diet contributes in substantial ways to the development of these diseases. And that modification of diet can contribute to the prevention and control. Isn't that an amazing statement by the United States Surgeon General? So we see it's a cause and effect issue as we look at diseases. Well, is there a cause and effect issue to the immune system? So how do we weaken our immune system? I call them the 3 S's: sugar, stress, and sleep deprivation. Those are the 3 big guys. Control these guys, and it will rank order. You'll have a huge impact on your immune system. Sugar. Besides being a driver behind other chronic health conditions like diabetes and heart disease, Sugar consumption affects one's body's ability to fight off viruses or other infections in the body. Last night, I referenced the book Proof Positive. Excellent resource for y'all. And in there, Neil talked about one soft drink, a 12-ounce soft drink. The sugar in that 12-ounce soft drink can wipe out your immune system 50% for 4 hours. Watch. Is that not significant? Now that's a 12-ounce. But who drinks 12 ounce?
Nobody.
No, you go to a restaurant and people go and they keep filling it back up. Far more than 12 ounces. The initial drink was more than 12 ounces. So 12 ounces of salt, and there's some like a Mountain Dew is even worse. And anybody tell me, this is a bonus question. What state did Mountain Dew come from? Where was Mountain Dew invented and made?
All right.
Tennessee.
I was gonna say, let's put this out.
And what city in Tennessee? Mountain View, Mountain Dew, Knoxville, Tennessee. Knoxville is actually right close to where I live.
Yeah.
Mountain Dew started in Tennessee. Mountain Dew is even worse than Coca-Cola. When I was a kid, we were not allowed to drink Coca-Colas. We could have Dr. Peppers. We drank Dr. Pepper, church events and whatever, but we couldn't have Coca-Cola. That's bad stuff. Kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah.
12 ounces wipes out your immune system. What percentage?
50%.
50% for up to 4 hours. Now, Neil says, add on to that a Snickers bar about this size. Now, remember the Snickers bars we had when we were kids? Not the guys this big today. One's this big. And when I go in, sometimes I'll go to a gas station and try to find those little ones. Sometimes I can't find them this size. They're the big ones. But just the little ones like we had when we were kids. It was probably about this long. You take the Dr. Pepper and the Snickers bar, which was my go-to when I worked in healthcare. I taught a lot. I would go across the state of North Carolina a lot teaching, and I would Mary would fix breakfast for me. I'd get out on the road, get on I-40, start heading. You know, I lived up in the mountains of North Carolina, and I would head out, and I'd find me a gas station. Get me a Dr. Pepper. I'd get me a Snickers bar. Now, the Dr. Pepper and the Snickers bar. Here's what Proof Positive says. Neil Nedley's book, Proof Positive. Of every 14 white cells, you just anesthetized 13. Only one is working for the next 4 hours.
Wow.
So I go to that meeting that I'm teaching, and I go up to one of the people there, and what do you think is at the meeting hall when you get there? Oh, it's got dishes. Yeah, you got dishes and donuts, and gotta have one of them. And so now you eat another one, and you walk up, and there's somebody you haven't met in a while, and he's got a little sniffle, and he just rubbed his nose, and he says, "Hey, Walt, how do you?" And then what do? I go and eat some more, and right here, and I rub my nose, and boom, my immune system has tanked because I just going to the meeting. I took out 13 out of 14. Then I go and get more dishes, and it's even worse. So sugar's huge. This is amazing. An average milkshake or an average slice of cheesecake will wipe out your immune system 92 to 93% for 4 hours. That's significant. That's significant. Okay. White blood cells, also known as killer cells, are highly affected by sugar consumption. Sugar hinders the immune system by not allowing the white blood cells to do their job and destroy bad bacteria or viruses, as well as when we do not eat sugar. This is Cleveland Clinic. You ever heard of that little hospital called Cleveland Clinic? Cleveland Clinic has some really good research there. These are, what happens here? Teaspoons of sugar and any bacteria are destroyed. Average American eats approximately 22 teaspoons of sugar a day, 150 pounds a year. What's HFCS?
Fructose corn syrup.
That's it's in your ketchup. It's in some bread. It's in sweet pickles. If they could put it in it, they put it in it. But not only do you have the sugar, but it's, what's it come from?
Corn.
And that corn is what? Genetically modified. And so now you're dealing with a couple issues there. And also genetically modified corn also has what on it? Well, has glycosides, which is what? Roundup.
Roundup.
Now, who's ever had Roundup or used Roundup? So let's say that we're getting, when Meredith and I get back, we're going to go, our beans actually are ready now, and we'll probably lose some beans, but we'll have beans still growing. And we get back and Meredith goes, oh, the beans are ready. Need to spray Roundup and we'll pick a mess tomorrow. Y'all know what a mess means?
Yeah.
A mess means a lot. I had this girl, she was out of Korea, and she, we sent her down to get a bunch of beans down at the farm. She came back and the dietary director was from North Florida, and she said, oh, you got you a mess of beans, didn't you? Girl starts trying. She thought she'd been told she made a mess. But let's say that Mary says, I want you to, we're gonna pick a mess of beans tomorrow, so that's my cue to go spray the Roundup. Are you gonna eat those beans tomorrow? But that's what we do when we eat our wheat, our corn, our alfalfa today, and our soybeans. 23 years ago, we moved to Virginia. And again, I'd already lived in Virginia, and now we've moved to another place. Our work took me all over the Southeast. And I went to this guy, our neighbor, he was a soybean grower. And I said, can I buy 5 gallons get a 5-gallon bucket of soybeans from you? That's just a scoop. And what can I pay for them? The guy goes, I'm not selling them. And I said, what? He said, you ever heard of Roundup? Roundup Ready? I said, no. He said, you ever heard of Roundup? Yes. He said, well, my beans are Roundup Ready. I spray them with Roundup. And huh? Didn't know anything yet. I was 23 years ago. And I was like, what do you do that for? That's poison. And he says, that's why I'm not gonna sell them to you. And then I said, so where do you sell them? He goes, I sell them to cattle farmers. I said, but yeah, but what happens? People eat the cows. But he wouldn't sell them to me because I was his neighbor and he didn't want to hurt him. So when you have high fructose corn syrup, you have the negative benefits of the processed sugar. You've got the genetically modified corn, and you have corn that's been sprayed with Roundup. So there's multiple issues of the high fructose corn syrup. You like to know where I worked when I went to school?
Deb.
Or
Little Debbie.
we didn't have Lincoln ID. Pretty much agree with yourself. We had no idea. Number 2, sleep deprivation. Sleep provides essential support to the immune system. Getting sufficient hours of high quality sleep enables a well-balanced immune defense that features strong innate and adaptive immunity and less severe allergic reactions. Lack of sleep can affect your immune system. Studies show that people who do not get quality sleep or enough sleep are more likely to get sick after being exposed to a virus, such as the common cold. Lack of sleep can also affect how fast you recover if you do get sick. Now, my biggest challenge that I told you this morning is sleep deprivation. Because I work through the day, and if we have a call at night, a house fire, I'm more prone to go out on a wreck on I-40. I do a lot of wrecks on Interstate 40. I'll be out for, 3-4 hours. If it's house fire, I'll be out for 8-10 hours if I'm having to investigate. In the middle of the night in the winter, is that a good time to get sick? It's raining on you, it's snow, it's ice. You're out, you didn't have a good night's sleep. Are you prone to get sick? Absolutely. So actually, a bottle of oil of oregano in my coat pocket, my turnout coat, I've got a bottle of oil of oregano. So immediately I'll start using it. If I feel something coming on, I'll keep using it through that thing. But sleep deprivation is significant on your immune system. Stress. What did we learn last night about stress? Number one diagnosis in America right now. There's a lot of this. Many of today's illnesses and diseases are treated by chronic stress. This is from Psychology Today, which depresses the immune system and wreaks havoc on every organ system in the body. Every organ system. Exactly how stress causes and contributes to disease is a question of particular interest to researchers. There are two likely pathways. One is behavioral. People under stress sleep poorly. Is that true? Yes. Are less likely to exercise, adopt poor eating habits, smoke more. Stress is, I find, probably the major trigger for smoking. Or a person starts smoking again, it was something stressful that caused them to start smoking again. They don't comply with medical treatments. Stress also triggers a response by the body's endocrine system, which releases hormones that influence multiple other biological systems, including the immune system. 1 minute of anger can suppress your immune system for 6 hours. Now, you heard me talk this morning about Arvo Khan, who's a neurologist, a friend of mine who specializes in brain function. And Arvo and I were teaching this class. Actually, we were both teaching this class together. And prior to the class, I said, Arvo, I showed him this slide. I said, let's talk brain physiology. And he understands brain physiology as a neurologist. That's the specialty, is the brain. I said, do y'all remember if-then statements? Okay. The language basic. And who's taking the basic language? It's a computer language.
Oh, yeah.
Computer language is if-then statements. If this, then this. If this, then this. It's if-then statements. So I said, Arvo, if 1 minute I said, what's happening here with 1 minute of anger in the brain, is it similar or equal to 1 minute of stress physiologically? He said, yes. Same thing. So I said, then could I say 1 minute of stress can suppress the immune system for 6 hours? Arvo says, absolutely. Same physiological effect in the brain, therefore it can cause the same thing. So we can say 1 minute of anger or stress can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. Is that significant? You wonder why people are sick all the time. Have you ever just been really stressed about something and you got sick? Have you? Sure. And that's a whole other seminar on stress. Things not to do: sugar, sleep deprivation, stress, poor diet, vitamin D deficiency, alcohol, obesity, smoking, dehydration, internet addiction. Let's look at these. Let's look at poor diet. Diets that are limited in variety and lower nutrients. And it's interesting what Harvard now is saying, what Cornell is saying. They're saying we've got to have a diet of variety. Very important. Why a diet of variety? Multiple nutrients. T. Colin Campbell is the man, he was my professor at Cornell, and Campbell is the man who coined the term plant-based diet. But he has a word on the end of it, or actually 2 words, with variety. Campbell says not just a plant-based diet, Plant-based diet can be Fruit Loops.
Mm.
Yes,
What?
Fruit Loops.
You got all the colors.
Fruit Loops, yeah, you got all.
That's at the top of the food chain.
At Cornell, they dissected a Kellogg's strawberry. Remember when we dissected in school? To determine how much strawberry was in the Kellogg's strawberry farm, the mothers would want to buy it for their children and their grandchildren. Cornell found there was 0 strawberry. There was over 100 chemicals that made it taste like strawberry. And that's what I learned at Cornell's in taking nutrition.
Mercy.
Diets that are limited in variety, lower in nutrients, such as consisting primarily of ultra-processed foods, can negatively affect the healthy immune system. It is also believed that a Western diet high in refined sugar and red meat and low in fruits and vegetables can promote disturbances in healthy intestinal microorganisms. And we talked about that this morning, resulting in chronic inflammation of the gut and associated suppressed immunity. What percentage of the gut function what percentage of our immune system is determined by gut function?
Over 90%.
75%.
Well,
75%, we're told.
Hmm.
So as we look at that variety, as we look at plant-based, as we look at, it's not just plant-based, it's whole food, plant-based diet with variety. So what's whole food mean?
Bread.
Whole food means it's just not processed. Yeah. There's a lot of processed foods out there today.
that's the real fast food.
Well, you know what? People will come and say, well, I don't have time. And I really confuse them because I say, you don't have time. No, I'll say, well, what if we do fast food? And they'll go, huh? What are you talking about? Well, what you do is you get a poke. You know what a poke is?
Mm-hmm.
What's a poke?
It's
a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, a poke is a bag. So you get your little brown paper bag and you put your banana in it, put your apple in it. The night before, when you get ready to leave, pull the grapes out of the refrigerator. Now, don't take a peach. A peach you get messy on it, driving down the road.
Yeah.
Put your little baggie of some almonds. Almonds are the king of the nuts. You put some walnuts. And then as you're doing your drive time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to work, that you didn't have time to eat breakfast, could you eat that on the way to work?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could. Is that fast food? Fast food. So I'm okay with that. Yes, it's better to sit down at a table. Yes, it's better to sit and enjoy family and talk. There's some healing that goes on there. But sometimes that just isn't an option, and so you got to look at plan B. I used to think plan A. I got folks in who aren't even on the alphabet. They're not even at Z. I got people who do not do fruit, do not do vegetables. To tell them plan A only, they would spit the hook. You know what I'm talking about? We're fishing for people, are we not?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Why are we learning this today and yesterday? Why?
Healthy, ready to keep your spiritual growth going, to build the capacity ready, preparing for heaven.
Okay. Yes. Anything else?
Prepare others for Jesus.
Point the sin, sick soul of Christ. And so if you throw plan A out and say you have to do plan A, and they say, I ain't going to do it. Can we force people to do stuff? No. Does God force us to do stuff? How can we force people to do stuff? So you got to negotiate. You got to figure out what that person is willing to do. People who say, I don't do one. Well, can I get them to at least do one bottle a day or half a bottle a day. You start somewhere. We had this lady who used to come to the store. We went back to Tennessee 19 and a half years ago. This lady would not eat a thing that Mary Lou would fix. She just thought it was nasty. But she'll eat anything Mary Lou would fix today. Little at a time, little at a time. Over time, Mary Lou has changed this lady's taste buds. And she'll eat healthy food. We have to spend time with people. It's called friendship evangelism. And as you work with people, you have to have patience. Does God have patience? He doesn't have patience. You gotta have patience with people. And so, no, it's not gonna take 4 weeks. Like we talked about last night. It may take longer than 4 weeks. But keep being friends. Keep offering things. Figure out, okay, well, they won't do that. What is the closest thing to healthy they're willing to do? And try to figure that out. And start a little at a time. We talked about vitamin D deficiency. But deficiency in vitamin D is associated with increased autoimmunity and an increased susceptibility to infections. Research shows that vitamin D plays an important role in immune function, and a deficiency in it is shown to increase one's susceptibility to infection. What do we learn today that vitamin D deficiency affects? Brain function. Vitamin D deficiency can mean your immune system is more vulnerable. We know there's a direct relationship with vitamin D and your HDL, your good cholesterol. We also know that a person who has sleep apnea, which for years we thought sleep apnea was only due to just being outside of your body weight, but it can be due to vitamin D deficiency. Low levels of vitamin D have also been associated with frequent infections. 2009, the National Institute of Health warned that low vitamin D levels are associated with frequent colds and influenza. Alcohol. What's in alcohol? Truth. Plus, does alcohol make you make other decisions? As the little kids tell me, as I teach them in the school, alcohol makes mommy and daddy do stupid stuff. Fortunately, that's really sad. Mom and dad do really stupid stuff sometimes. If those children have experience. Alcohol consumes the body's, compromises the body's immune system. Increases the risk of adverse health outcomes. Alcohol can trigger inflammation in the gut and destroy the microorganisms that live in the intestine and maintain immune system health. Obesity. Obesity, like other states of malnutrition. Now, we talked about this last night. How can a person who's 572 pounds be malnourished? Are they eating empty calories? Yeah, they could be eating empty calories. And does that happen today? In processed foods? Absolutely. Where is the best place to obtain your food? Your backyard. We had a tremendous blessing last weekend. We stayed with a family over in Palmer, and they have beautiful gardens. Got a greenhouse. The food was delicious. We ate food right out of their garden. They're going to have food through the winter in their greenhouse. It's got a wood stove in there. Can you do it? Yeah, you can do it. Healthy food. You know the soil. You know the seeds. You know if something's been sprayed on top of it. Are there some things healthy to spray? Yes, there are some manures you can spray. You can spray some things like we live in the South. Did y'all get to know kudzu?
Did you say kudzu?
Yes.
It grows like abundance.
Yeah, the best place in the world is the Southeast United States. It's kudzu. Kudzu is very nutritious. It grows 30 to 50 feet deep. It's equivalent to alfalfa in nutrition. It's a legume, actually. Mary Lou's made kudzu lasagna. You can cook the leaves like spinach. Doesn't taste as good as spinach, but it's food. You can take the most distal 1 foot that grows a foot a day in the summertime. You can strip that outside bark off. And in China, they take that 1 foot that just grew yesterday and strip that out, put a mess of them in a pot and cook them like noodles. AUDZU.
Yeah, I think so.
Now I have ladies who come to me and they will buy a bottle of kudzu. They'll take a bottle of multivitamins, pour the multivitamins out, fill the multivitamin bottle full of kudzu and say, here, honey, here is your multivitamin. Why? Kudzu lowers the desire for alcohol 40 to 60%. Also helps with weight loss. Kudzu also can help in reducing the desire for tobacco, along with lobelia. Lobelia is excellent for that. In China, if they can't figure out how to fix it, I use juicing. Juicing does a great job. But I haven't gone to this yet because juicing does so well, and it's more, people are more prone to juice than this. They'll take kudzu, they will dig it up, the main root, pulverize it, dry it, and then cook it into a gruel. A gruel is like oatmeal. And all you eat for 30 days is a bowl each meal, not seasoned. They wipe out from gonorrhea to tuberculosis, all kinds of diseases they cannot get rid of.
Wow.
It's amazing. Obesity, like other states of malnutrition, is known to impair the immune function, altering leukocyte counts as well as cell mediated immune responses. Smoking. Smoking pretty big up here.
Yes.
Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. Smoking harms the immune system and can make the body less successful at fighting disease. Dehydration. Significant positive correlations are found between severity of dehydration and changing the roles of the immune system. I won't go into all that, guys, there. These results suggest that dehydration resulted in immunosuppression, including decreased neutrophil function, internet addiction. Addiction can damage immune function. People with excessive internet use have 30% more cold and flu symptoms than those with less problematic internet uses. This sounds like something that the guy's name I mentioned earlier today.
Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Scott Ritzman. Yeah, Scott would come up with.
Does that, seems to me that has a connection, because with the addiction, that means they're not getting outside, they're not exercising.
That's exactly it.
Correlation.
And here's where it is. Those who spend excessive time on the internet tend to have greater sleep deprivation, worse eating habits and less healthy diet, engage in less exercise, tend to smoke and drink alcohol more. These are the things not to do. Things to do. Number one, pray. This is homework, Psalms 91 and Psalms 103. Take that home and read that. Things to do. WHO. Wash your hands regularly. We should say, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Very important. Now, soap and water and alcohol. Some pathogens are killed by soap and water. Some pathogens are killed by alcohol. And so do both of them, you're more effective. It is true that my nurses who would use a lot of alcohol, their hands would dry up. Washing your hands with soap and water, it's hard on the hands. And we're all actually now learning that, for a while, you can wash your hands too much. And you can kill, there are some good things that you need to get. I remember when I was a boy, my sister was always taking her to the pediatrician. My brother and I, we were Sister, she was always just sick and puny. And the pediatrician, I remember the pediatrician, my brother and I went in with mom and my sister was sitting there and the doctor looked at her. And just the way she was dressed. The doctor says, do you ever let her get dirty? Because every time she came in, just clean, clean, clean. Mom goes, no. He says, let her get on the floor and play with the boys, eat the mud, eat the dirt, and eat after them when they eat. Just eat out of the same plate. He says, she'll be getting sick.
That's right.
Sometimes we're too clean. Practice respiratory hygiene, cover your nose and mouth when coughing. Throw the tissue into a closed bin. Wash your hands. What happened when we were kids? You had a snotty little nose and dad or granddad pull out their handkerchief. Here, sonny, blow your nose. Well, sissy, you too. Go ahead and blow his nose. Stick it back in the pocket the next time. Remember those days. Suppose. Yeah. Throw it away and wash your hands. Maintain social distancing, especially if coughing and fever, at least 2 meters or 6 feet. This changed. And anyone tell me when the WHO changed this one right here? March 2020, it was 1 meter. It was 3 feet. March of 2020. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, mouth. Why? There are holes in the body. That's how pathogens can get in, through those holes. Mask and personal protective equipment. If you're sick, when caring for someone who is sick, in the healthcare setting, that has been WHO's recommendation for years. If you're unwell, stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek early medical care. When it's interesting, in Sweden, Marilyn and I, we worked in Sweden this past March for several weeks. And Sweden has that philosophy in their culture. And you have different cultures have different philosophies. It's a very socialized medicine country. And they do not want you to come to work sick. The company doesn't want you to come to work, and the your coworkers don't want you coming to, because they don't want you getting sick. Your coworker, stay home till you're better. I don't want to take it home to my kids and get everybody sick. The factory doesn't want it because they don't want everybody sick. Get sick, stay home till you're better. That just makes more sense. Healthy diet. A balanced diet consisting of a range of vitamins and minerals and most effectively primes the body to fight infection and disease. Just a flip on what we looked at first. What not to do, this is the same to do. A diet that has a wide range of vitamins and minerals. Processed food does not have that. And that was, who was that? That was Harvard. Eating enough nutrients is part of a varied diet. And again, there's that word varied is required for health and function of all cells, including immune cells. We're not dogs, as Dr. Jackson says. We're not dogs. We don't eat just same old. We need a variety of food. Hydrotherapy. You know what that's a cold shower, right? A cold shower. Here's some of the benefits of cold shower. Strengthens the immune system, increases hormone production. That's a good thing. A lot of folks have blown hormones. Improves circulation, increases metabolism, alleviates depression. How many of y'all have had hydrotherapy? Okay. Who's ever done the douche? Oh, the douche is great. The best douche I ever had was in Venezuela. It was a waterfall. Oh man, I went up against it. So it was a massage on my back. The fire department. We have when we work a house fire, we're just or even You have a tractor trailer fire and it'd be black as could be, but I mean, there's all that soot stuff on you. But it's toxins and you don't want to take that back. So what we do is we wash each other off with a fire hose. And it's you. And now the back, we're a little more aggressive. And I mean, it feels good. We're massaging the back, you know, it feels real good. And we clean all that, what we can get off of us, and then we put it in the washing machine to wash it. Well, if a person had a douche, I like using, and it's in hydrotherapy. It's a garden hose or a hose. It's about a 1 inch in a diameter, the water. And you take a person, this is for depression, put them in the shower and start the hot water on them. And then you take that cold water and you go up and down their spine. And I mean, they come out of depression real quick. It's amazing how quick it is. If they have a headache, you can work that headache with the douche. It's a tremendous tool. Alleviates depression. A cold shower is good for detoxing, improving male fertility, also improving male fertility for like motility. The sperm motility is walnuts are real good for that. Speeds up healing, prevents post-workout injuries, decreases chronic pain, reduces body aches, improves your hair health, improves kidney function, reduces swelling and edema, heals and tones the skin, regulates your autonomic nervous system, regulates uric acid levels in your body. Who do you think of for that?
Gout.
Yes, for gout. Yeah. Also, it improves sleep. So if you got problems sleeping, go take you a cold shower. Saunas are also very good for immune system.
Mhm.
That was a few days ago. Who has ever heard of far infrared sauna? FAR, infrared. There's mid-infrared, near-infrared, far infrared. Far infrared is out, mid-infrared and near-infrared, we can see that light. It's red. Far infrared is red, but we can't see it. It's outside of our eye spectrum. Insects can see it. It's kind of like a dog can hear things you can't hear. It's outside of what we can hear. Well, far infrared insects can see it, like bees and those guys, but we can't see it. I think we'll see it in heaven. I think we're going to see all kinds of stuff in heaven. We know that we're going to hear things that we can't hear in heaven. We're told that. So far infrared is phenomenal in bone healing. It's amazing how quick it heals bones. I had a lady come in a couple months ago, fractured arm. She had a cast on it, had a lot of pain. 20 minutes each day. The second day, after the second day of doing it for 20 minutes, the pain had gone. Within 5 days, she went back to the orthopedist and he said it's healing now. A buddy of mine, he's internal medicine over in North Carolina. He uses the far infrared, and he was telling me he had a young girl come in, a teenage girl, fractured tib just above the ankle, and the orthopod said it was not healing. He was going to have to do surgery. My friend said, let me try far infrared first. He did 20 minutes of the light, 20 minutes of sauna, 5 days for 2 weeks. Went back to the orthopedist. I don't know at what time it would have done it, but at 2 weeks, she went back, had full healing. They didn't have to do surgery. Far infrared is an amazing, amazing tool that we use. It's excellent. If you feel like you're getting sick, go get the sauna. If you feel like you're getting something upper respiratory, put the light on you. It's 11 inches off. If it's a regular size light, it's 11 inches off. It gets rid of rhinitis, sinusitis. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But anyway, it will help. You can put it on you while you sleep at night, and it helps. You feel like something's coming down, it will kill it. It just totally kills it. It's amazing. Fever treatments. Who's ever had a fever treatment? How'd you like the fever treatment?
I've tried
our whole life.
Fever treatments are amazing. Yes.
fever, like moon fever.
Yes. So what you do?
Go bathroom, there's suppositories over there.
So what you do is the conventional way is you get in a bathtub, water's 105, 106, and you get the oral temp up to 102, maintain for 30 minutes. Now, if the person's constitution cannot maintain this, in 5 minutes, they're tapping out. You don't go, well, you got 25 more minutes. Walter said that you had to do it. 30 minutes. No, do it as long as the constitution will allow it. As it continue improving, then you can extend it. It's tremendous for cancer, tremendous for cancer. And who remembers Dr. Charles Thomas at Loma Linda? Anybody remember Dr. Thomas? Thomas, in his research, he stated that it would increase the white cells 7-fold. I didn't believe him. No way. It's just sitting in a bathtub, 30 minutes going to increase white cells. 700%. So I had my nurses draw labs. So we did it on patients for all kinds of health issues. So I said, okay, for this amount of time, I want you to do everybody, no matter what their diagnosis, I want their labs drawn. We drew it before the treatment, at the end of the treatment, after we poured the ice water down our neck, and then every 30 minutes for 6 hours. It peaked at 5 hours, every single patient, no matter what the diagnosis, 7-fold, just as Loma said. And Dr. Cherney in his research found it doesn't come back to normal. It's amazing. Well, what about the person who can't, are there some people who don't have bathtubs? Yes, we have people who just have a shower. Are there people who can't get down in a bathtub? Yes, there is. So what I found out, we'll do the same thing, is have them sit in a far infrared sauna. I can get an oral temp of the 102 in about 25 to 28 minutes. Maintain it for another 30 minutes, and it does the exact same thing. Just put an ice pack on their head. Just so you see it's an ice cloth on his head. You got to keep the brain cool, and it will do the same thing in the far infrared sauna. So you're getting several benefits. You're getting the benefit of the so my assistant chief is going on in service. You get the benefit of the fever to increase the white count, and then you get the benefit of the far infrared, which increases the immune system and changes the water molecule in the blood, so you have better perfusion. So you're getting multiple benefits when using the far infrared.
So is the temperature of the water 105 degrees?
105 to 106.
Okay.
Yes.
But the oral temperature,
102 to 104. If the oral temp goes over 104, they really don't have a temperature. It's just like a double boiler.
Yeah.
And so you can just cool the water a little bit, or in the sauna, just try to cook it down to only one light instead of two, or open it up a little bit to get that temp down below the 104.
Yeah.
If they get kind of tacky on you, tachycardia, the pulse gets a little high, just put a bag of ice on that tachycardia.
okay, so the ice only if there's a problem, or do you have the ice on the head?
You do keep the ice, and head ice the whole
Okay.
time. Yes.
Hot and cold, but we didn't have a bath, so she was using like very hot and cold, like washcloths, and I think we had like the
Fomentations.
yeah, and my fever went away.
Yes, fomentations are phenomenal. It's the best thing I know for pneumonia.
It's killing me down in the hot tub or the bathtub for however long, and then you're putting the cold sheet with the wool around it.
Try a cold sheet pack.
Yeah.
Yes, and when you do put a person in a cold sheet pack, do not leave them. Did you fall asleep?
Pardon?
When the person went in the cold sheet pack, did they fall asleep many times?
Don't sleep with the cold sheet pack.
Yeah, usually they will. Don't leave them because they're wrapped up real tight.
Yeah.
When they wake up, they may try to get up and fall and broke their head. Okay. This is a fever treatment, United States Navy. When I was in school, I had this old fella, he was in his late 90s. And he told me, he said, Walt, he said, back in World War One, he said, he was a nurse in World War One. And he said, he says, you're taking healthcare. I need to tell you something because you may someday need to have this. We may see this again in this country. He says in 1917, we had the Spanish flu. And he said, we were losing a lot of soldiers. And he said, the only thing that we found to work for the influenza that was really effective was hot and cold fomentations. And that's what you were talking about. You're doing hot, cold, And we saw during the COVID, it was very effective for COVID lower respiratory issues. Here's a fever treatment with the, looks like Navy, is that Navy? And see here, they wrapped them up and see, when you do a fever treatment, you then want to take the patient and put them to bed, just like you do. That's very important, according to Lolanda's research, for 2 hours, at least 2 hours. And why are the nurses staying there?
All over.
That's right, so I get it. Break them up. Here are your commutations that you're talking about up here. This is kind of the old fashioned way of doing it. Hot, cold, 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold, 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold, or you can do a 30-second cold minute friction. Using hot, cold contrast showers, bathing, or fomentations can powerfully optimize immune function and greatly stimulate antibody production against viral and other forms of infection. Y'all heard of Youngberg. Yeah. In the 1918 Spanish influenza was one of the deadliest pandemics in the country as ever faced, yet it wasn't without hope. Every other method seemed to avail little, but by simple treatments using water was found to be very successful in treating the deadly flu. It was called the fomentation treatment. When they left Gravesville, y'all ever heard of Gravesville? Gravesville.
Yeah.
Gravesville. It's right south of Dayton.
Yeah.
When they left Gravesville, Southern Junior College, and they went to college there, which is still Southern Junior College. That's what it was called when my granddaddy was there. It was Southern Junior College. The girls they put in the buildings first for dormitories. The boys still stayed in tents. They started the school. Send your kid off to college today and put them in a tent. The flu hit, the influenza hit. There was a young man who had just graduated as a nurse from what's our school up in Ohio?
Kettering.
Kettering, yes, from Kettering. He came down and he was a school nurse. And then they started getting the influenza and the Spanish flu. He got an assistant and they started doing the fomentations. Not one student died. By the time they finished treating all the students at Southern Junior College, a school that was not far away in Huntsville, Alabama. What school is that?
Oakwood.
Oakwood. Starting to get the influenza. So he got on a train and his assistant got on a train, left Collegedale and went to Oakwood. Treated all the students at Oakwood. Not one student died. By that time, there was another wave in Collegedale. Got back on a train, went back to Collegedale and treated the students again. This time, he and his assistant got the flu. Fortunately, he lived through it, but his assistant died. And to his grave, he felt guilty that his assistant died and he was sick and couldn't treat his assistant. But none of the other students there at Southern died, or junior of the Southern Junior College. Very effective treatment. And this is the treatment that old nurse taught me back when I was in school, that he had done as a nurse at that same time in the United States Army. The application of, why does it work? The application of heat to the skin draws the blood to the surface and away from the internal organs. Heat relaxes the muscles and decreases pain and inflammation. Increased blood flow to the area stimulates white blood cell reproduction and action. The sweating caused by the heat increases the body's ability to eliminate body wastes and toxins in the system. This treatment calms and soothes the nerves. Things to do. Most important is one. Universal precautions, healthy diet, hydrotherapy do not heal. Only God does the healing. But you go home and tell her one day, I've talked to God. He's going to take care of me. I'm not going to eat near a bit again.
By presumption.
God's going to say, listen, boy, I gave you a brain. I gave you food. Now you broke them. We have a responsibility, but every time you sit down to eat, do you not ask God to bless that food? It's not the apple that keeps you alive. It's God blessing that apple. But it's a combination of all three. You know, God, the food, us, trust. It's a working relationship. Things to take, things that can be beneficial. Vitamin D. Vitamin D helps our immune system stay balanced during the cold and flu season and serves as a pharmacy resource. There are vitamin D receptors and activating enzymes on the surface of all white blood cells. Pharmacy times. The role vitamin D plays in keeping the immune system healthy is very complex because the immune system has to be perfectly balanced. If there's too much stimulation, autoimmune disease can set in. If there's not enough immune system activity, frequent infections can occur. So last night we talked about, or today we talked about, I guess it was today, talked about the normal lab is 30 to 99. So what does Dr. Watkins, Ted Watkins in Washington, D.C., what does he recommend to his patients for immune function?
100.
At least 80.
Oh, yeah.
There's a doctor in Atlanta. If you're going to her with stage 4 cancer, she's boosting your vitamin D level up to 205. Is there any negative effects of a high vitamin D level? There's a small chance, very small chance you could get kidney stones. And she says, I can fix kidney stones a whole lot easier than I can stage 4 cancer. Mary Lou she had osteopenia and we pushed her up to 175 and it's gone. See, for osteoporosis, you need several things. You need to have enough calcium in the blood. What's your best source of calcium?
Leafy greens.
Green leafy vegetable. That is the best. Very interesting book to read, Death by Calcium. Death by Calcium. Your best source of calcium is green leafy vegetables. If you have to have a supplement, then you're going to have to take a magnesium also. You want a 2-to-1 ratio. You take 1,000 milligrams of calcium, you need 500 milligrams of magnesium. You take 1,200 milligrams of calcium, you need 1,600 milligrams of magnesium. If you don't, you're going to further diminish your magnesium. Body will talk about that in a few minutes.
Did you say that in 1,000?
So if you take 1,000 milligrams of calcium, you need 500 milligrams of magnesium. A lot of folks confuse that and they think that you take magnesium, you have to have calcium. That is not true. Is if you have calcium, you've got to take magnesium. The next thing that you want to do is you have to have enough vitamin D in the blood to pull the calcium out. And so you need around 80 to 100 blood level. The next thing NASA found that when you go to space, you have bone density loss due to weightlessness. So what is the best tool that NASA found to increase bone density? The trampoline. The mini trampoline. That is the best tool to increase bone density. NASA can afford anything they want to. And that's an inexpensive tool and it's the most effective because that G-force effect drives that calcium into the bones. The fourth thing, and this is more of a female issue than a male, and that is you've got to have adequate hormones, progesterone and estrogen. And Dr. Lee found that out in his research down in California. James Lee, I think it was, back in the 90s. And you've got to have adequate progesterone. It's not just estrogen, adequate progesterone and adequate estrogen.
Is that for any age?
For any age, yes.
But when you've had cancer, that is estrogen positive.
Yes. So what do you do? So what you do is what he was doing is he was doing progesterone. But one of his assistants, Cynthia Johnston, she was doing some research on her side. And Barbara O'Neill talks about using what? What does Barbara O'Neill recommend? To stabilize progesterone.
Yam.
Wild yam.
Like,
That's right. Dr. Anna's wild yam.
well,
Wild yam green. Wild yam sweet taters. So wild yam, which also has Vitex, and Vitex is another herb. So it has Vitex, it has wild yam, and you use it twice a day, transdermally, here, 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 here. You know, now it really doesn't matter like they used to think. And if the female is cycling, day one on their cycle, they stop for 7 days and then they start again. If they have 2 cycles a month, they just plow through the second cycle, still using it, and they stop the first cycle. And then usually it will bring them into regularity to 1 cycle a month. So the wild yam is amazing because wild yam cream, it stabilizes progesterone. And when you stabilize progesterone, you stabilize estrogen. Progesterone is what's stabilizing the estrogen.
That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
Now, we used to use HRTs, hormone replacement therapy, and we used what was the go-to? Premarin. And what is Premarin? What does Premarin stand for?
Pregnant. horses
Mare's
urine.
urine. So you're getting your estrogen from the urine of the pregnant mare. You're getting horse pee that has horse estrogen. Well, Dr. Gabriella Torres, who is a Romanian physician, found you can get as much estrogen from 1 cup of twice cooked soy milk as you can from a Premarin pill. And so you take soy milk, make the soy milk, and then heat it up a second time. Be careful not to scald it, and you'll get as much estrogen as a Premarin. But still, we've got the estrogen. So that's what I used to use instead of HRT. But then when I found out Lee's work and then Johnston's work, which is even more successful than the Lee's work, you don't even have to use the twice cooked soy milk. You don't even play with the estrogen. You're using the wild yam to stabilize the progesterone, to stabilize the estrogen. Then to add on to that, you can use nettle, stinging nettle. Now, stinging nettle grows here.
Goes all over here.
We had it for dinner last Sunday. What's her name? The doctor, hang on a sec. Tell you her name. And pardon?
Was it really?
Nellie, yes. We need to talk about Nellie. So Nellie last Sunday for dinner brought over a whole mess of nettle leaves. And she cooked them in a pot with water and steamed them. And we had nettle leaves. Excellent. Nettle is probably the most nutritious of all herbs in North America. And it grows here. It's excellent for female hormones because it stabilizes the adrenals. Blown adrenals blows your hormones. How do we blow the adrenals? Stress. Well, nettle stabilizes the adrenals. If you're in Asia, and you have an asthmatic attack, they will strip you from the waist up. They will whoop your chest and whoop your back with stinger nettles.
Oh my.
It will stop the asthmatic attack.
I bet.
Once the asthmatic attack is over, they will dig a hole in the ground and they will bury you
Oh.
with your neck sticking out because they like mud. And the mud will pull out the stinging. If you're in Venezuela or Colombia, they will just smear mud all over, and that will pull out. But nettle is an amazing tool. Amazing tool. Also, the side effect that the men tell me is that after using it for 6 months, their hair starts coming back to. Meredith says I need to use it a little here. But it's good for bringing the hair color back. But it's great for female. Also, one of the biggest things that we use it for is the Tennessee allergies, East Tennessee allergies. And it's one of the best things that we have found for allergies, is stinging nettle. Back to where I was there. So the osteoporosis is enough calcium in the blood, enough vitamin D to pull it out, the mini trampoline to cram it into the bones, and the stabilized progesterone and estrogens, not just the estrogen. You also have to stabilize the progesterone for the females. Stabilize the progesterone, stabilize the estrogen, and you're less prone to have that bone density loss, and you can reverse osteoporosis. Another thing for osteoporosis is something called boron. around 150 milligrams of boron. I've seen it take up to a year and a half, but I've seen ladies totally do away with full-blown osteoporosis by just using boron. Boron deficiency in the soil is prevalent in some locations, such as the Caribbean. And so by taking boron, also boron is good to use for things like arthritis. Boron deficiency.
How much?
150, 75 to 150 milligrams
A day.
a day. Usually 75 is what every day, twice a day. You're out twice a day. BID, twice a
How do
day.
you spell it?
BORON. Most people use boron just on, they take, say, 35 to 75 milligrams a day. But if they have arthritis, they're usually doing 75 milligrams a day. If it's osteoporosis, they're doing 150 milligrams a day. Vitamin D, very important for your immune system, according to pharmacy. Garlic. And garlic grows here, yes? Yeah. Allison is an added, Allison is a active ingredient of garlic. This is from, this actually comes from NIH, National Institute of Health. It's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, antiprotozoal. Who knows what MRSA is? I had this lady one time, I was sitting down with a man from California. He was a retired sheriff from the LA area. He had type 2 diabetes and hypertension. And Mary comes over and she says, "You've got to help this lady, man." So I got up, excused myself, went over, and this lady was just crying, as we call squalling. Y'all hear squalling when you're down in Alabama? If a child's squalling, a person's squalling, that means they're crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" Well, she had just left the doctor, and they had told the husband he was a 10 of 10 of severity. I don't know the tool he was using. He had a type of MRSA that's vancomycin resistant. You've heard of that. That means vancomycin's not going to work. She then left there, went to the pharmacy, CVS pharmacy, which is across the street from me, crying to them, begging them for something for her husband. And they told her there's nothing left. The doctor had told her nothing else except some exploratory and do some scraping. And he said, that's probably not going to do it. So went to the pharmacy and she's begging for something. And they said, "Man, there's nothing else." She keeps begging them, she told me. And they finally said, "Go across the street, see Walt, see if he can help you." So she came across the street. Is that a serious condition? Absolutely. It's a death sentence.
Yeah, life for death.
And so I said, I have something I've never used for this. I've used it for MRSA. It's extremely good for MRSA. Blows the doors off vancomycin. But I've never used it for what your husband has. Are you willing to try it? She says, "I'm willing to do anything to keep my husband alive." I said, "Okay." Back and got it. That's Allison. Came back and I said, "Does your husband believe in God?" She says, "No." I said, "Do you believe in God?" She says, "No." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, only God will heal your husband. This will not heal your husband. Only God will heal your husband. Would you mind if Mary and I pray that God will bless this, that it will heal your husband?" See how he mixed the two? So she says, "I'm willing to do anything." So she buys it, she leaves. She comes back a week later. I mean, she's excited. She is so excited. She said, the doctor just said it was a 4 out of 10 in severity. That's marked. Again, I don't know what he was using to determine that. He was an infectious disease doctor. Then she didn't say what tool he was using, but anyway, she leaves. 2 weeks later, she comes back, a total of 3 weeks. She says it's gone.
Wow.
Plum gone. But this is what I expected to come out of her mouth. She says, my husband now believes in God. You see how it works? Well, she's gone. Didn't say it. This was in 2005. 3 years ago. No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This spring. I'm standing in our herb cabinet, and our herb cabinet is probably, I don't know, maybe this big. Up the ceiling down, we've got like 200 some herbs that we use. And I'm working at the herb cabinet right over here, about right here. And this lady comes in and she says, my husband's wanting to quit smoking. Do you have anything to help him? I said, yes. 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice, 1/4 of a cup of honey, 1/3 of a teaspoon of peppermint essential oil. Mix it up, take a nip anytime you get a hanker. Y'all know what a nip is? You know what a hankering is? A nip is a little sweet, a hankering is a desirable. I have to speak Southern where I live in Appalachia. And so she's okay. So she's going out the door. And I said, don't forget the most important thing. She says, what? Peppermint or the lemon? I said, no, pray. She says, you don't remember me, do you? I said, no, ma'am, I don't. So she walks in and she's literally standing exactly where she was the first time I met her. And she starts telling a story. Was that lady?
Mm.
And I said, I remember you. I said, I got questions. Same husband. Same husband. Did it ever come back? No. That's a miracle. Does he still believe in God? And this time, it wasn't my husband now believes in God. It was, oh, yes, he does. And I said, I need to ask you something that I didn't get to ask you before you left so fast. Do you believe in God? She said, oh, yes, I believe in God. She said, it all happened. She wants to where she's standing. I said, so what are you doing church-wise? What are you doing God-wise? What are you doing? She goes, oh, we're very involved in the Lincoln Baptist Church. She said, I gotta go. She's gone. I haven't seen her again. I don't know what God has in store for that lady. But can you see how when you put the two together, it works? It's huge. We used the Allison. God blessed the garlic. That's what it was. It was Allison. I'll show it to you tomorrow. And it's amazing. It's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, antiprotozoal. It's antimicrobial, anti-cancer, antioxidant, immunomodulatory, anti-inflammatory, hypoglycemic, and cardiovascular. It's phenomenal what God has done. You see, Allison, have you ever heard people say smashing the Allison, the garlic?
Yeah.
Well, the reason is it takes two chemicals and puts them together like an epoxy and makes one chemical, and that's Allison. The problem is you got to eat it quick because Allison has a short shelf life. It oxidizes very rapidly. Well, this place in England has found how to make it stable for at least 2 years.
Wow.
And so, and plus it takes 24 cloves to make one drop of this stuff. And so none of our stomachs can handle 2,000 something cloves at a time. My son had Lyme disease. And he had it he'd gotten it when he was, well, he got it in 2003. So it was probably about 8. And he suffered with it for about 10 years. At 18, he went through fire academy, got his firefighter 2, fully certified as a firefighter. And then he couldn't run from here to the door without falling down and crying with the leg pain and the heart pain from Lyme disease.
Wow.
I had to disallow him from interior attack. He could work outside the fire ground, but he could not go inside. It was too dangerous. So I contacted that company in England and I said, is Allison any good for Lyme disease? So they sent me a study on what it does for the immune system for Lyme disease. So we did 1 teaspoon twice a day for 3 months. We also did a parasite cleanse. We did immune boosting tea. But in 3 months, the Lyme was gone. 6 months, it came back. We did it 1 more month, and it's been gone. This last March has been 13 years. Lyme disease from gone. Now, God has given us some simple treatments that will grow right here. And it's very, very powerful.
So what did you do? How did you use the garlic?
We 1 teaspoon twice a day for 3 months. 1 teaspoon of the liquid, put it in water.
Concentrate.
To get straight. I don't recommend it. It's stout.
It's, yeah,
And this
burn, yeah.
twice a day and use it for 3 months.
Okay, but the point is step 1, 2, and 3. To make the potion.
You can't, the problem is you would have to take 2,300 and some cloves of garlic and make that 1 teaspoon.
Okay, so you didn't do that. So
No,
what did you
I just
do?
bought it from a place out of England,
Oh, okay,
and I can tell you about that tomorrow.
okay, thank
Yes,
you.
but Allison's just super strong.
Right. That's all.
Garlic appears to enhance the function of the immune system by stimulating certain cell types, such as the macrophages and the lymphocytes, natural killer cells and NK cells, dendritic cells, and eosinophils, by mechanisms including modulation of cytokine and secretions, immunoglobulin production, the phagocytosis, and macrophage activity. Onion, very similar, they're cousins. Onion is an immune boosting food rich in fructans. Mary, what did the lady tell you in Quantife when you were a student missionary about onions? Does it smell good? And it's kind of like having bread bacon. You have onions cooking, a little sauteing some onions, and it smell good.
How about purple?
What?
We talk about purple is better.
Well, she likes the red onion. She says it's prettier.
You're always.
Yeah. Yeah, when last week we did a class and we didn't have a purple onion last week, did we? But if she has access, she uses that red onion because she says it makes it look pretty. Like pretty. Oil of oregano, we talked about this earlier today. Oregano oil is a powerful plant-derived essential oil that may rival antibiotics. Now, this is Journal of Med Food. Oregano oil, it's an essential oil. It's a powerful plant-derived essential oil that may rival antibiotics. Pharmaceuticals, I say it does rival. When it comes to treating or preventing virus infections. This is a journal. Oregano oil contains properties that are antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. Again, another medical journal. Now, again, if you do the oregano, I like doing it internally. I'll do it 25% oil of oregano, 75% olive oil, and mix it, and then you can use that. You can also use it for like mold. Do y'all have mold up here? Mold,
Yeah.
like mold.
Oh, yes, so, yeah.
Yes. So one of the best things I have found for mold is you start out, and I learned it from Dr. Bob Martin. You ever heard of Dr. Bob Martin? I learned it from Bob Martin. And you do 3 drops of the combination I mentioned, oregano and olive oil to 1 to 3. So it's 25% olive oil, 25% oil of oregano, 25% oil of oregano, 75% olive oil. He'll do 3 drops 3 times a day. He builds up to 10 drops and as much as 15 drops. And it is good to treat mold toxicity. Zinc. We learned about zinc during the last couple of years. Zinc is a mineral that is important to the body in many ways. Men actually deplete zinc faster than women. Zinc keeps the immune system strong, helps heal wounds, and supports normal growth. If you do use zinc though, remember zinc lowers what? Copper. So if you have a person that has high copper, I had a lady come in a couple of weeks ago, her copper levels was high. So what did I do? I gave her high doses of zinc, which lowers copper. That's been used for years. But so during the last couple of years, 3 years, their medical folks have been doing 50 milligrams. There's a physician over in Sevier County. She was doing 100 and some milligrams of zinc a day, but she was not getting copper. At just 40 to 50 milligrams of zinc a day, you need to be doing 3 to 5 milligrams of copper because you're going to lose copper. Just like when you use, what did we talk about before? We said when we use calcium, we lose what?
Magnesium.
Magnesium. When we use zinc, we lose copper. Now this will blow you away.
How do you get copper?
You can just buy a copper supplement.
I mean, but we have copper evidently in our bodies.
Well, we have copper in the soil. A garden that doesn't have copper in it is not going to grow well. Sometimes you have to add copper as an implement to your soil for growing your food. If the soil is deficient in copper, you're going to have problems with your food growing. Garden. So this is going to blow you all away. It blew me away. And I learned this years ago. I grew up on a dairy farm. And Cornell re-emphasized this when I took nutrition from Cornell. You got a glass of milk. Let's say there's 300 milligrams of calcium. Is there calcium in dairy?
Mm-hmm.
There is. But what they didn't tell us is that dairy also has protein. And to break that protein down, let's say it takes about 500 milligrams of calcium to break that protein down. What happened? First grade math.
You just lost calcium.
You just lost calcium.
Yep.
So a cutting edge orthopedist is going to tell you if you have bone density loss, osteoporosis, do not take dairy because dairy will make you lose calcium. Isn't that a wow?
Wow.
That's huge. The rocks are crying out, y'all. That's Cornell University. Yes.
Just one concern I personally have regarding zinc. I work in a clinic and we evaluate children with developmental disabilities. And kids can get too much zinc and then it can cause like nerve pain. So kids will be, especially on the autism spectrum, is probably notice it, but they'll be biting themselves or scratching themselves,
Yes.
and doing self-harm. So particularly kids, you have to be sure not to get too much zinc.
How are you finding that they're getting too much zinc?
Because their parents are giving them a lot of supplements, and it's in a lot of different kinds of things. And I know parents tend to also have been giving their kids zinc because it was thought to really help us fight off COVID.
Yes.
So parents being proactive were giving them a lot of supplements and they were getting too much.
Yes.
So kids don't tend to be able to tolerate that as well as adults.
Good point. I used to think moderation in all things, but I don't believe that anymore. If you have children, is moderation in cocaine okay? No, that's not going to enter your house, is it? Moderation in moonshine? No. So it's moderation in the good stuff, total abstinence in the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So as you look at doing even on the natural side, we need to be smart and stuck. And so she's exactly right. We have to be cautious. Vitamin C. Vitamin C is one of the largest immune system boosters of all. In fact, lack of vitamin C can even make you more prone to getting sick. Foods rich in vitamin C, guava, Kiwi fruit. What's a strawberry, Cat?
I was wondering about that.
Um,
You mean that little green thing?
That's the top of the strawberry.
You know that green thing we all
That all go away?
Yeah. So I went to a class and the presenter was the top nutritionist for the United States Navy SEALs. She ought to be pretty good in that position. And she said there's more vitamin C in the cap of a strawberry
Mhm.
than in an orange. She says, so when you're making a smoothie, put your 6 or 8 strawberries in it. Leave the caps on. And you'll have more vitamin C in there than 6 to 8 oranges. Now, I don't encourage you just to eat the caps.
They're not bad.
You like them?
I like
You
them.
like them? But you said different tongues.
Stem part.
Just that little green part. Just that little green thing.
Yeah, and take the leaves off. though.
Yeah, take the leaves off. Just that green thing.
Oh, the stem.
And the stem off. Just that little green
Little
cap.
things on the top of the
Yeah,
strawberry.
just everything down. They actually do make vitamin C out of those caps. Oranges, broccoli, kale. Intake of vitamin C is essential for good health. Because your body doesn't produce vitamin C and does not store vitamin C. It's a great tool to use for cancer. How do you know when you're getting too much vitamin C?
How can you? Because you get rid of it.
How do you get rid of it?
Yeah, drink it.
What?
You feel it out.
Yeah.
What's another way you know you're getting too much of it?
Stool.
The
Loose stool.
green apple two-step.
What?
What happens if you eat too many green apples?
Loose stool.
Gives you a loose stool. That's right. It's called the green apple two-step.
Oh, too small.
So another southern term.
Green.
Let's say, let's say that you want, you're fighting, so you do it to what's called bowel tolerance. So if you want to really hit it hard for you're sick or a person that has cancer, you go up to, you take, what we do is we do a half teaspoon of vitamin C powder. Now the lysosomal vitamin C won't do this, and that's a better vitamin C, but it's expensive. So you do the vitamin C. You do say a half a teaspoon, which is around 2,250 milligrams. Obviously, a half a teaspoon, you're not going to be exact. You do that every, say 30 minutes until you get a loose stool. You figure out how much you just took. Then you do, the next day you do only 10% of that. I mean, 90% of that. So let's say you take 30,000 and you get a loose stool. Then how much do you do tomorrow?
27,000.
Right. And then here's what's cool. After a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start getting better, or you start getting a loose stool again. That means you're getting better. That's a good sign. And so you can cut back another 10%. If you want to open the cells better for attacking something serious, you can take MSM 30 minutes before it and with minerals in it, and the MSM will open the cells and you can better and it will better absorb the vitamin C to kill
This is MS.
MSM. MSM's word about this long.
It can pull vitamin C out of your body if you don't take vitamin C with it.
I've never heard that. It could. I don't know.
I think I heard that.
It could. I
I
don't
was
know.
able to take vitamin C with it,
Yeah,
take it by itself, and pull vitamin C out of
Okay.
your body.
that's good to know. I'll need to check on that. Yeah. But I know I use it together to make the vitamin C more effective.
They used to use high dose vitamin C IV in the ICU for a while. I don't know if they're still doing that
They
or
are.
not, but.
Yeah. It's very effective. Yes. B6, vitamin B6 is vital to supporting biochemical reactions in the immune system. B6 is found in green leafy vegetables, chickpeas, gluten plenty. Vitamin E. When you freeze foods high in vitamin E, it kills the vitamin E, so don't freeze your almonds. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that helps the body fight off infections. Foods rich in vitamin E include nuts, seeds, spinach. So you don't want to freeze your spinach either. If you want vitamin E.
So question on that, so then you buy a package of frozen spinach that's killed
The vitamin E,
the item already?
yes.
Okay.
Elderberries. Elderberry grow here?
They have red elderberry that grows wild all over, but it's
So,
a little poison. It's poisonous if you eat it raw though.
What?
It's poisonous if you use it raw here. Red
Okay,
elderberry.
The red elder.
we're not supposed to eat our elderberries raw either.
Okay.
But after it's made into an extract, it's okay?
I know the natives use it.
Okay.
get it in pouch.
Yuli would know, Yuli.
Elderberry, I have no idea what an elderberry is.
They have it right out behind the church.
Right.
All over.
In the fall, but I.
Talking about the berries that comes out of the devil's stuff or?
It
No,
looks like these here on a bush, it's an elder.
Elevators, like.
Shrub.
Yeah, and it actually can turn into a little, almost feel like a tree. Gets pretty big.
it's all over the place here.
Okay,
It's-
okay.
And he said that.
No,
No, I know it's what you're talking about. It has the same leaves.
right, no, the elderberry's raw.
Yes, it comes in a shrub and it goes pretty big sometimes.
Okay, so when you make into an extract, we make extracts. Okay, and we'll talk about those tomorrow. Elderberry inhibits the earlier stages of an infection by blocking key viral proteins responsible for both viral attachment and entry into the host cell. This is an important step right here. The phytochemicals from the elderberry juice were shown to be beneficial at stopping the virus infecting the cells. However, to the surprise of the researchers, they were given more effect at inhibiting viral propagation at the later stages of the influenza cycle, when the cells had already been infected with the virus. And what it does, it prevents the virus from sticking to the pulmonary cells. That's amazing. This observation was quite surprising and rather significant because blocking the viral cycle at several stages has a higher chance of inhibiting the viral infection. This is University of Sydney. So the elderberries are, and that's why we saw them used so effectively during the last 3 years. Astragalus. Does that grow here?
Yes.
Astragalus is something that's good.
It's like veg.
The broad array of immune stimulating characteristics of astragalus has been widely used in treating patients with both acute and chronic infections. Acute meaning rapid onset, chronic meaning over time, like COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So both acute and chronic infections include viral myocarditis and viral hepatitis. Viral myocarditis is deadly, very serious. But yeah, it's been found that the astragalus is very effective on that. Astragalus can demonstrate immune potentiating effects in human, animal, and in vitro studies, as is often used as an adjunct therapy to HIV positive persons and those with full-blown AIDS. Echinacea. Is that over here? Echinacea, preparations are commonly given in Europe for the prophylaxis or treatment of bacterial and viral infections, and as an adjunct to treatment of more severe infection. Adjunct means along with other medications. The only thing you have to be cautious on echinacea and golden seal is that you can use them for about 2 weeks, and then you've got to stop for 2 weeks because they lose the efficacy. And so you use it for about 2 weeks and stop for 2 weeks, and you can use it again. Golden seal, be careful, long-term use, golden seal can cause depression on even long-term pulsing. So just be cautious on that. So you have to look at your herbs. Some herbs, it doesn't matter. You can use garlic all the time. It's not going to bother you. You can use wild lettuce all the time. It's not going to bother you. Some herbs you have to be careful. Some you don't. Mullein you can use all the time. Mullen doesn't grow here, does it? But nettle, you can use nettle all the time. It's not gonna bother. It depends on the area. Echinacea extracts are commonly used to treat upper respiratory infection, influenza-like infections, and are reported to significantly reduce the symptoms accompanying the common cold. Iodine. Iodine, antiviral, antifungal, antibiotic. It's best if it's a Lugol solution, that's potassium iodide and potassium iodide. Iodine was the most effective agent for killing viruses, especially influenza viruses. Aerosol iodine was found to kill viruses in spray mist, and solutions of iodine were equally effective. Iodine is phenomenal. The word, yes,
Typically, between the iodine colored and uncolored.
I don't know that. Colored but non-colored, I don't know.
My buddy uses iodine, the non-colored one, for pain relief.
Okay,
And,
probably doesn't have the stain properties.
yeah, he just puts it on anything that's sores and he just.
Potassium iodide
Yeah.
isn't colored.
Okay,
It's gotta be the non-colored one.
Yeah,
Pain relief.
I'm not familiar with the non-colored, but I need to look at that.
They get it in the, what do you call it, store in
Oh, the store?
Walmart,
Okay,
uncolored iodine. And
okay. So.
you could put it on a roll-on,
See what that is for topical for pain relief.
and you could put it on a roll-on and just go like this.
Right. That's
It's
interesting.
better,
Good. Dr. George Fletcher's work in North Carolina, and now it's being replicated in Germany, finally, at their dosing is even more effective.
what's high in iodine?
Pardon?
What's vegetable or
Your best source is sea vegetables.
seaweed?
Yes. So Fletcher started looking at, he started having more and more patients with breast cancer. And so he looked where, to be a better physician, he started looking where in the world do you see less breast cancer? It's Japan.
Mhm.
What was the differences? And he and another physician started looking at it, and they found that the consumption of iodine was a huge disparity. In Japan, the average woman consumes 13.7 milligrams of iodine a day. In America, the average woman consumes 0.125 milligrams of iodine a day. So Fletcher started having his patients taking 12.5 milligrams of iodine a day, and he found that the cases of breast cancer reduced. Also tender breast syndrome, but we've seen that in the the GYN community for years. And those docs have been using Lugol solution for tender breast syndrome for years. Well, out of this research came more research. And what it is not just 50, 60-year-old ladies that have breast cancer. You can have a girl in her teens have breast cancer. So Fletcher, because it's so effective, Fletcher started having all of his females and late teens and up using the iodine. So this took a time. This took a while for this research to come out. He then got a visit by the school superintendent in a rural mountain community in North Carolina. And this research was done in a rural mountain community in North Carolina. And the superintendent came and said, Dr. Fletcher, whatever you're doing, I want you to continue doing it. But we need to know, what are you doing? And he said, what's going on? He said, we're getting menses. And a mensa is a genius. We're getting menses in this rural Appalachian community where we didn't get them before. It wasn't Oak Ridge. It wasn't Cape Canaveral. It wasn't Huntsville, Alabama. It was the Appalachians of Western North Carolina. And all of a sudden, we've got 8 menses in our school system. And parents don't know each other. The kids don't know each other. The only correlation is you or their family physician.
Hmm.
What have you done? And Fletcher said, who are the kids? And he told him, he says, well, I knew they were smart kids, but I didn't know they were menses. And he started telling him. And so he started doing further research. And he found that if a woman takes 12.5 milligrams of iodine during the first, especially the first 2 trimesters, just like taking folic acid during the first 2 trimesters. But if they'll take 12.5 milligrams during the pregnancy, and then when they start breastfeeding, the mother goes to 25 milligrams of iodine. And they do this for 2 years, breastfeeding for 2 years. The mother's taking 25 milligrams at this time. And as the baby is able to chew, the baby takes 3.125 milligrams of iodine. Average, the baby's IQ is 10 to 15 points above the mother's IQ. Germany saw this research, and Germany is now replicating that study. And they're doing 25 milligrams during pregnancy, 50 milligrams during breastfeeding. And they're finding preliminary, the early research is showing even better outcomes. To me, it's phenomenal. It's huge. So iodine is amazing. I like just the fact that it prevents breast cancer.
Are there 2 types of iodine?
Well, you do. You've got potassium iodide, you have potassium iodide, you've got sodium iodide, but you want the one that's called glucose solution. So you can get like iodoral, ithroid, Lugotab, those are different brands. Now, Fletch has found that the liquid iodine, which many people use the liquid iodine, PO by mouth, but he found it to be effective for about an hour and a half, where the time release type in a pill was 12 and a half hours. So it was more effective. But definitely, I believe every female 18 and below should be taking the 12.5 milligrams to prevent breast cancer. Breast cancer is a real thing.
Salt.
We used to, yeah, that's a good question. We used to get table salt and iodine, and like Morton, the little girl with the umbrella. But we've moved away from the little girl with the umbrella, rightfully so. She's not healthy. And we've gone to Celtic salt. We've gone to Himalayan salt. But those usually don't have iodine. Now, there are some companies out there that are doing sea salt and adding back iodine. When we need iodine. NAC, we learned about NAC during the last couple of years, shown promise in the treatment of more acute conditions and infections such as influenza and pneumonia, particularly in the elderly. In a 6-month placebo-controlled clinical study, elderly subjects received 600 milligrams of NIC daily. That was the average that we saw doing that. Oh, we did see a lot of folks, I think, some were doing like 1,200 milligrams during the last 3 years, but 60 milligrams. And I'm saying this because I don't, if you put this up on YouTube, I don't want it getting taken off. But 600 milligrams daily experienced significant fewer influenza-like episodes and days in bed than did the placebo group. And so if a person is, they can do 1,200. We saw that effectively used. In addition, significantly fewer of the NAC group developed symptoms despite the rate of infection between both groups being the same. And then there's rocket fuel. I'll finish with this one. Who's ever had rocket fuel? Okay. Where did you learn rocket fuel?
Yeah.
Yes, where? Oh, okay, last week, yes. Okay. Okay. Rocket fuel. Did you like it?
I don't mind it.
Did you like it last week?
Sorry, I'm not sure. It was strong.
Yes.
It didn't have all the ingredients.
You didn't. We didn't have the elderberry syrup.
We didn't.
We just. Did we? Yeah. When you made it.
Made it out.
Oh, got it. Okay. So were you there when we made it the other day? Okay. So we made it the other day and we did put out, but we didn't have the elderberry syrup. We just put dried elderberries in it. And it wasn't as good. Elderberry syrup's a little bit better because elderberry syrup. Now, here's the key on elderberry syrup. Look at your ingredients. There's a lot of elderberry syrup out there that's made with
What?
honey. Now, I like honey. I'm sorry. Is it honey?
But yeah, but the one that the local people are using is not compliant, it's a clean.
That's true. Some that's not good honey. There's another thing that they're doing wrong with the elderberry syrup out there.
No, ours is vegetable.
Yeah, we use vegetable glycerin and that's a lot better. There's another thing, yeah, I'll think of the name. So you want to use an elderberry syrup, sugar. There's some out there that put sugar in the elderberry syrup.
There's a lot of vitamins out there that are gummies.
Yeah.
And they make some gummies and then there's sugar.
Sugar, yeah.
Outside of the gummy.
That's totally depleting your purpose.
Or they put aspartame in it.
Yeah.
Or some sort of sucralose.
Yeah, that's not good.
Cut
Yeah,
your stuff.
so we do 5 to 10 cloves of garlic, a half of an onion, thumb of ginger, that means a piece of ginger size of your thumb, the juice of 2 lemons, 2 tablespoons of honey, unless you're married, that's 3. Cayenne pepper, 1/8 to a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And all cayenne peppers are not the same. When you go to the store, it may be 20,000 AUs. If you come down to Gatlinburg, or actually Pigeon Forge, to the Pepper Palace, you can easily get the Carolina Reaper, which is 3.1 million. So not all cayenne, and China has a new one out now that's, I understand, over 4 million AUs. Elderberry syrup, we use 1 tablespoon, Alimed warm water, net 1 quart. So that means you put it in a blender, pour it up to 1 quart. The blend, drink all within 30, 60 minutes. The original that I found was the left. Marilyn and I have added the elderberry and the Alimed, but we find it to be more effective and also more palatable. It's really, really good.
What's the Alamed?
Alimed is the Alice.
So what?
The Allison we talked about. before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's that garlic Alice.
Oh, okay.
Is this to is this to cure what ails you? Or is this to cure what ails you or?
Yeah, right,
Okay.
yes. And so what
Yeah.
you do is you drink that and 30 to 60 minutes, anytime you feel like you're getting sick, or there's a family member that's ailing. Like if he's sick, you can drink it too, and it keeps you from getting sick.
Can it be repeated like a couple, you know?
You can do it every day.
Oh.
People will call us and have us make it for them out of our deli. And we'll make it up for them.
I did something that we learned from, I don't remember who it was, somebody from the Marcella Church that did some stuff and it was garlic and onion and ginger and stuff and honey. And you let it sit in a jar. And after 24 hours, it was, you could take it for colds and
Okay.
and stuff, and you could leave it in the refrigerator for, long period of time.
Yeah, it's just amazing. The simple, Dr. Jackson has one called, he puts grapefruit in it, he calls it nature's penicillin.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
They eat the rind.
Like I work with, I do the RSV, COVID, flus, AV, So when parents, families come in, one was positive, we know it's gonna trickle on down to the others. So they can be helping themselves by, whoever that's positive here could work on this here and really help them not to catch it or,
Yes,
prevent it.
yes. And again, look at. It's not a cookie cutter. No, it's a cookie cutter. Everybody's different. But there's just general rules of thumb. And getting that sleep, not eating sugar, managing the stress, those items we talked about not doing, and then it's a whole bunch of things put together. And so, and you don't want to just do the good stuff and not take the bad stuff away, because you're still irritating the issue. You've got to do it. You've got to take the bad stuff, and again, take that sandpaper away. And then, you can put something on it, put your olive oil on.
So what can you do to replace sugar? If honey's out there as sugar,
Mhm.
and we can't go to aspartame and pink stuff.
What do you
cancer.
need? What do you need the sugar for?
Sweeter, tasty.
Okay. And the whole-
you can post them now, but.
Right.
It's a sweeten that.
So-
When you creamer, because it has
Right.
sugar.
You can do, if it's a liquid, you can do stevia leaves. Right. You take, like, if you make a quart of tea,
Mhm.
you take a half a teaspoon of stevia leaves and add that to it, and it really makes it good. Now, who knows Melody Happiness? She's on 3ABN with Dr. She's the assistant director, and he's the director of Black Hills. You've heard of Black Hills. Chef. Anthony, Chef Anthony. I've heard of Chef Anthony on 3ABN. So Melody came in one time to our store and to pick up some supplies. She was doing a program. And she's from Texas, and she was talking about missing sweat day. And I said, well, I make her some sweat day. It's healthy. And so we made her some sweat tea, and it was a quart of water, bring it to a boil, plumb turn it off, and a heap of teaspoon of stevia leaves. Put it in there, let it sit 30 minutes, strain it, and it's sweat tea. Very sweet. You can take that and pour it within, you can make your coffee or toast them. But I'll tell you what to use. Have you ever used Dandy Blend? Dandy Blend's a great product.
Dandelions.
Dandelion.
Dandy Blend, yeah. And you can go to your health food store and get it. It's Dandy Blend. It's very healthy and it's economical. And I won't drink it. It tastes too much like coffee. I hated coffee. I tried coffee in high school. I tried coffee in college. It's nasty. And I put so much cream in it, it was like New Orleans. It's more milk than or cream than it was coffee. And I just didn't like it. And it's very healthy. And if you want to sweeten it, you can put along with it, you can put that either that stevia water or put stevia in when you brew things. Yeah.
What, see, I see, Steve, how about the packets?
You can use that, but this is even better if you can do this.
But
You
I
can do-
don't think you can get stevia leaves around here, right?
No, it won't grow.
Health markets or any places.
Oh, yeah, you could buy it at a place.
Maybe natural pantry.
Yeah.
Natural pantry.
Yeah.
It can grow here because it comes, it's,
But I know the package, you can get at Walmart, you
Yeah.
get stevia, okay, so.
you can use that. It's just that the leaves are even thinner tasting. The packets, the liquid and the powder that's been, it's like an extract.
Right.
It can have an aftertaste. This stuff doesn't have an aftertaste.
Just one more question on the stevia. Okay, sugar, right? But isn't it fooling the pancreas? Like it's down, here you go, you got the sugar, the pancreas is gonna, work it to break it down to this, but say, hey, there's no sugar here. But, I taste something there, but then the pancreas will want to quit.
We don't have a problem with that.
The pancreas will accept it and it's not bad.
Oh, that is done. I haven't found that to be true. Yeah. Okay, now Mary Lou, help me here. So he's wanting to cook and make food sweet. How do you make food taste sweet?
Well, if you wanted to do like a berry topping or something.
Your cereal, something like that, add some sugar.
Add fruit.
Just fruit, or you can do some dried dates or raisins.
What about cane sugar?
Date sugar.
He's not very.
Or,
When it comes to desserts, we don't make too much dessert.
yeah, it's about every
Sugar.
1,000 blue minutes.
No, it's not very often, we don't do that, they're going, but. Your fruit, so if I'm gonna make a dessert, then using some sugar, but. I would limit it more.
Like a date sugar or a
Well, not maybe.
monk fruit.
Oh,
Monk, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, part of,
Maple syrup, what about that?
that's what she uses.
I'll use some maple syrup.
Like syrup. Yeah. There is dates. I mean, dates are a great sweetener. They really are. When she makes our almond milk, she puts dates in it and makes it really good. And what you can do is you make your milk sweet with the dates, the almond milk. And
You
then
can blend it or something, you blend it with the milk or.
you blend it up and then you milk it through a milk bag. Squeeze it through a milk bag. That works good. Honey. To make things sweeter. Agave, yes,
That was a controversial one at one time.
yes, yeah. And so, the thing is, again, I'm gonna go back to plan A, plan B, plan C, plan Z. At least get on the alphabet. There's people who ain't on the alphabet. At least, so it's better to do some of the healthier sugars than to do that white processed sugar and then mature your tongue to a healthier way.
Or cut down the recipe a little bit, you know, if it calls for 2/3, go down to a half, but you know, just cut it back.
I mean,
It's okay with diabetics, but is it, will it help diabetic people?
your stevia, yes, it has a 0 glycemic index.
How about like the dates? and stuff?
The dates, just use it in moderation. Starting off. And the sweet thing with that, with diabetics, thing is cured diabetes. Just plumb get rid of it, and then you don't have to worry about it. And so when we're doing the process of reversing the diabetes, which, you know, depending on the person, how much weight they need to lose. You know, the two ladies I spoke about in Africa, within just 2 weeks, they had a glucose of one at 124 and those one at 115, no insulin, no metformin. But they hadn't come to ideal body weight. So we were still managing their diabetes through the diet, the exercise, you know. They hadn't plumb got rid of it yet. You know, they still would have had a high A1C over the last 3 months. But you stay on that diet until last night we talked about things to identify. So let me share with y'all that weren't at the question and answers to answer the question from last night. So last night we talked about how to develop a lifestyle program. We mostly looked at an assessment aspect and we ran out of time. So what do you do with that? You can do a 3 to 5 day water fast. Why do you do a water fast? Well, it has physiological benefits. It has spiritual benefits. You can say no to food, you can say no to anything else. I call it the no muscle. You can say no to food, you can say no to whatever. So every day you fast, you're strengthening that no muscle. Works. Then you can juice the person and have them juice. Do the Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead program. That guy out of Australia. You watch that movie, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It's a documentary out of Australia. Excellent program where you juice, vegetable juice, breakfast, dinner, supper, 16 ounces each meal. And you do that for up to 6 months. And you say, well, it's dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. Well, University of Alabama at Birmingham for the cardiac patients are in significant cardiac failure. See, the second major expenditure of the heart is digestion of food. And so you get a person who's in heart failure, significant heart failure, has low ejection fraction. They sit down, eat that big old steak and potatoes, whatever. It causes so much energy on that heart. It's like trying to run up 3 stairs, flights of stairs, and they have a heart attack. Well, eating that big meal does the same thing. So these doctors down at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, they looked at that. When you digest food, it takes 2.5 to 5 hours to digest a meal. But when you drink the juice, or actually chew the juice, you don't drink the juice, you chew the juice, then swallow it. But when you do juice, it's in the blood within 15 to 20 minutes. So it's not a lot of energy away from the heart. Well, that was interesting to those advanced cardiologists at the University of Alabama. Well, they'll juice you for 70 days. 70 days. There's enough fats, proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals in that juice to even support heart failure. There's enough protein in the vegetable juice to support heart failure. So when we do the 60-day juice that Joe Cross from Australia does. We don't find problems. And then after that, we go to the Duke diet, which is, for breakfast is 3 fruits, 3 servings of fruit. Apple, orange, pear is an each serving, or a half a cup of small things, blueberries, strawberries, raspberry is a half, is a serving. Or big things like pineapple. You wouldn't eat a whole pineapple. And so you do a half a cup of pineapple. That, 1 cup of brown rice, that's breakfast. So 3 servings of fruit and 1 cup of brown rice. For the noon meal, for dinner, is a nice big old vegetable salad. No dressing, no oil, no cheese, no meat, no salt. Remember last night we talked about we got to get those fats out. And so there's no fats there. So it's not going to cause problems. You got to reverse that diabetes, reverse that cardiovascular disease. Even in reversible cardiovascular disease, we'll talk about this evening. You don't want the fats, the oils. And then you do 1 cup of brown rice. You can squeeze lemon juice on it or negotiate if you don't have inflammation issues like arthritis or issues that nightshades bother you, you could put some low sodium salsa on it. They wouldn't allow you to do that at Duke, but you got to negotiate. And then if you have diabetes, you don't want supper. You have to have something. You could drink a V8 juice or one of your juices, best to plums together, supper. And you stay on that. Stay on that diet, the Duke brown rice diet, until if it's a diabetic, you have a normal A1C of 5.6 or less. You have a morning glucose of 99 or less for 70. You have, you're off meds. You're off any diabetic meds. You're also in ideal body weight because that's one of the problems. So once you get to ideal body weight, whether you use BMI or % body fat. For cardiac, if you're hypertensive, you stay on it until your blood pressure without meds is within a normal range. If you're in heart failure, it's best to stay on it until your ejection fraction gets back up where it belongs. I know a guy that he called me, his ejection fraction was 20. Cardiologist in Nashville told him he had 2 months to live. He would not live 3 months. So he chose to do the Duke diet, the brown rice, the fruit, the salad, the fruit. And then he did that. And his ejection fraction went up to 30. Well, that's a whole lot better than 20. But it didn't really go up above 30. And we really liked it, 55, 60. He stayed on that, just 1 month shy of 6 years. He died of COVID. And I'd asked him, I said, aren't you bored of that diet? Because he stayed on it to keep that heart in good shape. His son who worked at Vanderbilt said, the only reason that he's alive is because of that diet. But I said, aren't you bored of that diet? And he said, I'm bored of that diet, but I get to see my kids and my grandkids. What's more important? So it shows me that long term is not harmful. I met a lady at Duke when I went to Duke to audit the program. She had lost 200 pounds. 200 pounds is not in 3 months, 1 year, even 2 years. It takes a while to healthy loss of 200 pounds. And so you can use this long term and you stay on it until you get to your quality indicators that you're looking. And then I call it the restoration diet, where you're doing that diet, you're doing the exercise 4 times a day, you're drinking the water that you need to drink. And you're going to bed by 9 o'clock. That's the restoration. It's kind of like, driving one Sunday afternoon, old 1957 Chevy out in the field. Back up, go up there, and the little old lady comes out. And you say, man, what are you doing with that car out there? Oh, honey, you want it, you had it. Yes, ma'am. You go get you a wrecker and haul that thing home. Now, is that car ready to use? Probably not. You might need to restore it. You got to take a grinder and grind it. Get that rust off. You gotta put some Bondo, Tiger Paw. May have to weld some metal onto it. Put new car seats on it, rebuild the engine. That's the restoration stage. But once you got it finished, you have to keep doing the restoration stage. You now do the maintenance. So the Duke program, the brown rice program, the juicing is the restoration program. Then you go to the maintenance program. And then I jump over to a different school. See, I was at Duke University with the brown rice. Now I go to Cornell University, where Dr. T. Colin Campbell was. And Cornell University is a very good university, nutrition wise. It wasn't just Cornell, it was also Cambridge University that came up with this diet. And this diet is the maintenance diet. It's the whole food plant-based diet. Well, they didn't come up with it. You can actually find it in Genesis 3. Yes?
Yes.
It's the Genesis 3 diet. And that diet, the Cornell and Cambridge diet, is that whole food plant-based diet. And that's the maintenance diet when you work with it. Still keep the exercise up, still keep the water up, still keep up going to bed by, good hours. When they're out exercising outside, they're getting the fresh air. They're getting the sunshine. You're encouraging them not to drink and smoke, and that's the temperature component. You're encouraging them to ask God. And now you just covered all of those. And it works. Yes. So what time are we coming back to talk about cardiovascular?
6:30.
6:30. Okay. So we got a little bit of time.
Yes, we do, and so the children's out right now, we're going to encourage everybody to head out of the church, walk around the parking lot. That's the right thing, and that is 6:30.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Dr. Schaefer.
Yes, we do.